Welcome to the Anomie Podcast, which are hosts Alex, James and Oisin. We're currently moored off the southwest coast of Little St. James, searching for the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein.
Ooh.
Don't touch me there, Jeffrey!
He died 10 years ago, to this very day.
We keep spotting Donald Trump around. I think he's looking for something for him as well. Anyway, what we hope to do with this podcast is kind of talk about anarchist socialist ideas, learn a bit about what's going on in the world at the moment, criticise it, and make as many dick references as possible.
Just have a good old laugh, eh, lads?
No, don't do that. Anyway, on that note, let's get started. So what we're going to do first is talk a bit about the recent fracas with Eoghan Murphy, which is he tried to shave his beard recently. I was very upset. It's a sexy beard. It's about the only thing that's sexy about him.
It is very well clippered.
It's a beautiful beard. Yeah. I was quite worried that he probably has beaten people, bootblacks probably, over them looking at his beard too longingly. But to the matter at hand, the attempt to oust him, initiated by the Social Democrats, supported by an interesting number of people, but not enough to actually get rid of him.
Yeah, how many Sinn Féin voted?
I think they all voted for him to get rid of him.
Good,
which is not surprising because the problem, of course, being is that we are stuck in a never-ending hell. That is the bizarre sexual sado-masochistic relationship between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
Or neoliberalism, as we call it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, but
and just to make something clear, there was a vote of no confidence, and Fine Gael abstained.
Fianna Fáil
abstained. Fine Gael is his party,
yeah.
so
James is not from here, as you can probably tell.
They've got the same name.
They do. They're Fine Gael and Fine Féil.
Yeah.
So it's not particularly surprising. The thing that's interesting, I think, about it is that it's becoming untenable for this bizarre relationship to continue on, given the mounting evidence, which has been there for years now, of homelessness, of a landlord drone class kind of bleeding an entire generation dry. But that didn't stop them keeping him in his place. So the question here is probably how long is this going to keep going, and then how much longer is this government going to last? Because it's not going to last that much longer.
Yeah. The word on the street is they're going to table a no confidence against Simon Harris in February.
Yeah.
Which sounds likely. Oisin, you know more on this, though.
So I reckon that there will be a motion, and there's already one independent who's come out who voted for Eoghan Murphy last time, and he's come out and said he would not vote for the government this time round, presumably because he realises that it's a very unpopular thing to do among his constituents, as well as the fact that Fine Gael are the devil incarnate, and they just want to uphold sort of the landlord class. I think also above it all, I suppose the Foucault's pendulum of it is that you actually have Brexit sort of gathering apace with the election next week, and we're really sort of not really that clear on where to go, and Irish people are very conservative by nature, I'd say, and I think they're afraid that a change of government now would sort of weaken our position vis-a-vis the British government. So they want to
from now on to be referred to as the Tans.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so I think there will be a vote in February, but I'm not sure that Brexit will be finished by then. So I guess it could pass, but I don't think it will. So yeah,
there has to be an election come spring, though, surely.
Well, the last election was in 2016.
Yeah.
And I think it's
4
years. I thought it was
Yeah.
5 years. It's 4 years, yeah. So there'll have to be one next year at some point. Presumably, as you said, the spring and summer makes more sense.
Yeah.
Sunny weather, people go, do you know what? My life that's shit when it's cold is suddenly not shit because it's warm.
But that's the worry at the moment, is that they won't get it in the spring. They'll have to do it early on in the year, in March or something like that, because of people keep tabling motions that are going to just hold things up.
Yeah, no, I mean, the point is that, I mean, if there is an election, which presumably there will be at some point between now and spring, summer, you're probably going to get pretty much the same result, but Fianna Fáil will have slightly more this time. And Fine Gael will go into that position of supporting them.
yeah.
It's nothing much is really going to change. Labour.
Well, I do think that the Green Party will definitely sweep up a lot of the sort of former Labour votes.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
in the process, they'll, at best we can hope for is they go into government with Fianna Fáil, which they did from 2007 to
and
2011.
they did absolutely nothing when they were in government. So yeah,
And in fact, I think you'll find that they increased taxes on working class people rather than doing anything about the enormous scam that was the housing market at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't trust the Greens.
Don't fucking trust the train. If you learn nothing else from this podcast, don't fucking trust them. Look up this guy Trevor Sargent. He was a prick. Still is, I think.
I mean, look at the park that's getting sold off as well.
Which one?
Anomie Gardens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's not really a
It's
park.
not really
If
a park.
if you saw it, it's
you're
far
right,
from
right,
a park.
right. Yeah, no, it's a
The rats cascading over the mounds of broken bricks.
It's
yeah.
an estate, isn't it? But it's called a park. I remember now. But Hazel
Wasteland, effectively, at this point.
Hazel Chu voted against basically what she was voted in for,
Yep.
right away
Yeah,
on
Surprise,
her first
surprise.
vote. Yeah, exactly.
And
So-
and her explanation was doing something, even something shit, was better than doing nothing. And I would go, well, you're saying that it's going to be affordable housing, but the housing costs 300,000. And how exactly, since wages have not only plateaued but disappeared
but
over
you
the
have to
last...
remember she was elected in Pembroke, and Pembroke is a really middle class area. So
Again, not surprising.
That is affordable
Yeah,
housing
not
for middle
surprising.
class people.
She also, her excuse was like, but I make memes on the,
Yeah.
the Irish
But-
Simpsons fan page. I
But they
can't be
love
all
me.
that bad."
They love this guy. Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah, to go back to Owen Murphy though.
yeah, Beardy. Beardo.
Beardy McBeardface. The housing
That's Jerry
minister.
Adams, actually. I
That's
think
true.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Jerry Adams, the first ever shit poster. Yeah, basically his main solution has been for the past year and a half. Wow, when did he come in again?
What, Jerry Adams came down
No,
here?
Jerry Adams.
How long?
I don't know.
Owen Murphy.
He's always been there.
He's always been with
Since
us.
the first
and
king
we
of
always
Leinster.
will. Yeah.
Placed his foot. Jerry Adams.
When Brian
used to
Brew
say.
chopped off the head of the Viking king, Jerry Adams was there to take a picture on the slide.
Yeah, well, Owen Murphy's plan, anyway, of the past 3 or 4 months has to be suggest co-living spaces. So basically, what he wants to do to solve the housing crisis is for everyone to live in student dorms.
Yes, yeah, pretty much it.
And this is an idea that gets touted a lot in America and parts of Europe as well. And it's just so fucking depressing, because rather than do the simple thing, which is just build some houses, which would be the easy thing to do, it's like, oh, let's get some private enterprise to build some student dorms, but for you as you live in your 30s. But basically now what happens is that we live in Logan's Run. But instead of when you get to 30, you get shot, which would be a nice fucking relief. You get to your 30s and you go, oh, you have to live your 20s again. But this time, your back is sore, the drugs are a lot more expensive, and you get sick after 3 pints.
I think
so
if
not nearly as
if
much fun.
I think if Peter York, who played the character in Logan's Run, had those two realities, he would probably say, "No, you can fucking shoot me."
Yeah,
now."
exactly.
Yeah.
Just put a bullet in my head now.
It's fine. I don't want to need to go look for Peter Houston off in some magical library. I'm fine. Just shoot me. No, I mean the point of it is that mainstream economists people like David Williams, who are not radical any stretched imagination, are saying a mass program of building of apartments, of flats as we call them here, at least 400 a week we need apparently over the next 50 years by with the way the population is growing with immigration and just people still having kids. And he says it's doable. It's doable. He, again, with a rather more conservative view, is of the belief that you can effectively tax wealth rather than taxing income. And since there's an awful lot of wealth tied up in land, that would be a good way to encourage people to sell property. People at the moment are hoarding property. That's why, there's a combination of two things. People are hoarding property and landlords who are running amok. And they happen to vote for Fine Gael and to a lesser degree Fianna Fáil. And that's why we're in the situation we're in. It's not going to change if people keep voting for those two parties. It's not going to change if people sit on their arse and go, oh well. Or, I should say, if they fuck off to name a country, to Sydney. If you fuck off to Sydney,
Sydney's not a country.
It's in a country. It's a person. It's a person called Sydney. It's a person called Sydney living in another country. If you go to meet Sydney in the back alley, it's not going to change things.
That was amazing. I can't believe the first country that came to mind
was Sydney.
Was a city.
Was a guy actually. I said Sydney, not rather than Sydney.
Sydney Lumet.
Sydney St. Clair. Noted conjugal visitor. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's Beardo, is just one of the latest suits that they put in the position. It's the same with health. I mean, Varadkar was the health minister. The same policies have been going on since someone else took over the job. Can't even remember the name of the current health minister.
Simon Harris.
Oh, Simon Harris, of course, the guy who looks the most like a serial killer of all the front bench.
He does look like the sort of person that the title would be, and then he turned the gun on himself.
And nobody was surprised. Yeah, it's true.
It's always the quiet ones, isn't it?
It's true. He'd be the type of person who would secretly dress up like Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker.
He already looks, he's got the Joaquin Phoenix look anyway.
It's true, yeah. But he has a child now, so you can't say anything bad about him. Don't say anything bad about him.
Oh, he has a child?
He has a child. You can't say anything
I thought you
bad
said
about
he
him.
is a child.
He's also a child. He's 14.
He's living vicariously through his child,
But he's got friends who write for the Irish Times, so we better be careful.
Oh, I'm so scared of the Irish Times.
The failing Irish Times. We should start saying that. The failing Irish Times. But yeah, I mean, there are enormous amount of solutions to this problem. The fact, and here's
but the solutions are really simple.
They're really, really simple. Very, very simple. Here's the thing: how much does it cost? One must imagine to house much of 10,500 people in hotels and Airbnbs.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's an enormous fucking waste of money, and you could use that money very easily to build apartments. But there's no will to do it. So,
but not if you're sort of main constituents of electorate are actual landlords and B&B owners and
and they have a big, and that's why people have to, and we're anarchists saying this, if you don't bother to vote at all, and again we're not abstentionists on this actually, then you're not helping the situation at all. You should absolutely use get organized, get involved in groups. March. I mean, there was a homelessness march, anti-homelessness march, rather than in favour of homelessness.
Well, that was a good one recently, though, as well. It wasn't Eoghan Murphy, but it was someone with a similar portfolio. Was basically like, "How dare Glenn Hansard have a march and say he was angry about?" He probably, he probably doesn't even pay taxes anyway because of the tax reforms that we put through. I don't think that's the own that you think it is, buddy.
Sure.
But yeah, that's always because they don't have a leg to stand on. I can't remember if it's EU law or UN law, but either way, the Irish government consistently break human rights laws.
Yes, all the time.
In terms of housing and in terms of direct provision, and it really shows you that EU, UN, these huge institutions are there as a gentle suggestion. And the only people
you might want to stop beating that homeless street urchin. No,
you can pretty much do what you want, and unless you're a third world country, you're not going to get into unless you're like the unless you're Greece is the only people that have ever have actually got hit with a baton.
Hitton?
Yeah, Hitton.
It's a Scottish phrase. Yeah, it's a Scottish phrase.
Yeah, so even by their own remits that Ireland sets itself out to do, it fails as a government.
Well, yeah. To be honest with you, and I say this far too often, the state was founded by landlords and by people with big farmers, and that's what it was. And it was like that long before the state was even created. There's a remarkable fact, which was that there was 3 labourers, people actually working, not even including the homeless and whatever else, 3 labourers, agricultural working class, whatever, to every one farmer, effectively, and a big farmer, you know. Even just after the famine, by 1911 it was 1-to-1, and these days it is an overwhelmingly middle class vote, because we just exported our working class out of the country a long time ago, and we encourage anyone who doesn't like this state to fuck off. I mean, it's from the very, very beginning it's been there, and Irish people are like, okay, bye bye. Which again, it's understandable. At the same time, it guarantees this stasis. Now, on the upside, you know, we have a economy of sorts, whether it's obviously not designed to benefit anyone other than landlords and the already wealthy and speculators, but a lot more people do stay, and that's one of the reasons why you're starting to see a fight back amongst younger people, the kids of middle class people who maybe didn't do as well as they should have and didn't get, and are now stuck in a rental market, which in Dublin it's over €2,000 a month. That's the average. Even in the countryside it's €1,400 a month. So I mean something will have to change. Again, we're not going to do it because we're off Little St. James and still looking for Jeffrey Epstein's ghost, which is
easy for you to say.
It's very easy. Anyway, the point is, what we need people to do, or what we would like people to do, is try and not be cynical. I think that you can be very cynical, especially I've displayed huge cynicism in the last couple of minutes, but
the last
do as I say.
The last about 10 years. Yeah, whatever you do not follow my advice. I've only done bad things now. But certainly doing nothing is not going to change. So we have to kind of start doing something about it. And thankfully, people like the Renters Union, Dublin Renters Union, are organising. Even the IWW and groups like that.
So let's move on to the Great British General Election. So let's first off say, what do we think is going to happen, Alex?
I think that it'll be fairly similar to the 2017 election. I think too many middle class people are terrified of Jeremy Corbyn. I think fair amount of working class people have been, I would say the word misinformed rather than brainwashed, because brainwashed sounds bad if I say it. But brainwashed.
Is that because I checked your privilege the other day?
It was, yes. And I did have to cough afterwards. But the point is, yeah, I think I would like it to be different, but I just don't see the type of people who voted for Margaret Thatcher and John Major for 17 or 18 years are the type of people who are going to vote for Jeremy Corbyn. Unless, and I could be, this is a big if a lot of young people come out and vote, and a lot of people who never vote usually come out, then it would be different. But it's a big if.
Oisín?
I think it will be probably a hung parliament, because the Conservatives have abandoned DUP, and also I was talking to what's the fuck's his name? He was at the TAS lecture. He was a Guardian columnist, but he doesn't like the Guardian. And he said that the number of young people registering to vote is the highest on record. So I actually think it'll be probably closer to even money, just like the Brexit referendum. And I think it will be down to how good at sort of sucking up Jeremy Corbyn is to people like Nicola Sturgeon and the one of Greens and all the rest of them.
Lucas.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my money on a minority Labour government with a supply and demand with SNP.
Ooh.
But yeah, I think, like, having seen a fair few elections in my time, 5 or 6 now, I think, general elections, and must be. The first one was that I remember is the first Blair one.
97.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been doing a lot of voting recently.
Can you vote for? Oh, you're supposed to vote.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Fucking Ireland. No fucking supposed to vote.
So I've never seen the British establishment this rattled before. Like, size of this is like on level of like the Suez Canal crisis, I think, with how scared they are and the way that they're peddling. Because if you look at the 2017 election, people would say, "Oh, Corbyn got through a lot better because the impartiality kicked in." I really think it was just complacency, where the BBC and people like that just didn't think that Corbyn was a threat, and they took their eye off the ball. But now, this time, they're really scared.
Yeah.
They're absolutely terrified, and so they're in like high red alert mode. And much like the Scottish referendum, it's very similar to what we saw there, where it's just out and out lies by the BBC and their political editors and, you know, the Guardian, and they're just scrambling, desperate, knowing that they're on the wrong side of this.
But from all evidence, in terms of, and again, I keep forgetting the name of this guy, and he does work for the Guardian. I know you just name check Guardian as an establishment paper, whatever.
Well, the Guardian is a very strange paper because it does have occasionally some really good columnists in it.
Well, I was going to refer to, I think his name is John Harris, is the guy who does the Vox Pop stuff.
John Harris is a melt. He's a fucking idiot at the highest order.
Well, that said...
Oh, look, I've come here to Milton Keynes to look at some poor people and point at them.
It's not Benefit Street, okay? Okay, fine. Well, leave John Harris aside. There are other things you can go to. I was listening to a podcast, and they went to the West Midlands, and I'm sorry, there was even amongst students there was this enormous cynicism about any politician. I think that's the genius of the establishment attack on Corbyn has been they've just said all politicians are shit. Corbyn is no different, and therefore you need to really vote for Conservative Party. It's a genius kind of. It's like someone beating you and going, "You don't want to leave.
Stop hitting yourself."
Yeah, not even stop hitting yourself. You don't want to leave. You're enjoying this beating. You know?
But what the Labour Party has been really good at is a message of hope, and they're really strong in it. And they've got a very good doorstop policies that they can trundle out. There's some bits in England where Labour have got 100% hit rate on knocking doors.
That is impressive.
Just think about that. So that means that their local MP has gone to every single house in that constituency and knocked on the door. Like, that is how hard that they are playing this election for, because they know that they're not going to get it through the channels of social media and through, you know, big media. They just know that on the doorstep they can really get people. The amount of canvassers that there are for this election is huge.
Yeah,
and it's going to
most of the 500,000 that are in the Labour Party.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to come as a huge surprise to people like John Rintoul or people like that when Labour get as much votes as they do, because they're just not paying attention. They're just not looking at what people are saying and how much effort that Labour are bringing out onto this.
Are you not saying that though because you're getting most of this information via internet sources, which is when I was a horrible old person? You're getting it from the internet, young man. But like, it seems to me that there is completely two different worlds. If you get your news from the BBC or even from Channel 4, you seem to have one view, and you seem to be one age too. It's like a very big generation kind of divide. And it seems to me you have the views, which I agree, with you on a lot of what you said. Their message is hopeful. I read their manifesto last night. It's fucking amazing, some of the things they're proposing. Yeah. If they could do half of it, it would fundamentally change not only Britain, but it would I think would have a huge effect on countries nearby.
For sure.
The left over here would be able to make an argument about nationalisation, would be able to make an argument about doing all sorts of things which actually involve, maybe taking loans out or but investing it in. And I think that would be amazing if they got in. I really wish they do get in, but I'm somewhat suspicious that far too many people are still beholden to this fucking Andrew Neil crap, as if Andrew Neil's the gatekeeper of who should become president. With it. He's not even the gatekeeper of his own follicles. He's fucking Wigtown, UK. But
gatekeeper of your own follicles.
Anyway,
That's the highest brow you're bald joke.
thank you.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It is. There's 40% of the British electorate that is just you're never going to win over. And it's the same with Ireland. You just go, there's no interest in getting you. You're not going to do it. You know, the people that made money from Thatcher are never going to vote for Labour.
No.
There's no point courting them. And, yeah, it's not one to worry about. But last election, 2017, like a lot of people didn't make their mind up until the last week.
Sure.
You know,
Good point.
it's really there. UKIP voters you can get a lot of the time. Which is why Corbyn's always had a difficulty over the Brexit policy,
Which I think is the right. I think his policy was right. It's the most sensible.
No,
it's
exactly.
It's just not the one that sells well when they want to have you having black and white
black
view.
and white.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was and it was always like, well, Corbyn needs a really clear Brexit one, even though he always has done. And then as soon as they came harder down on Remain, the polls went absolutely nowhere, as we all said it was going to do. And it was just a Lib Dem head wreckers again, just desperately trying to.
I had a thing which was if Joe Swinson really wanted to stop Brexit, that she should dress up like Angela Merkel and let everyone in Britain come up and punch her in the face. Which I think would work. I think you'd get out some of the aggression, but she wouldn't do that because she's not she's not really interested in stopping Brexit.
No, I mean, in fact, they've already sort of said that they would go into coalition with the Tories and pretty much drop Brexit.
Fucking hell, yeah. Of course they would.
They didn't even wait until the end of the election to do that.
So for anyone who's too young to remember, please do Google
Vince Cable?
Not Vince Cable, no. Nick Clegg's I'm Sorry, which has been made into many, many different songs. Nick Clegg promised that he would not introduce tuition fees. James and I, a long time ago, when Oisin was just a fetus, were marching against that. It didn't work. It didn't work at all.
No.
And we ended up burning down, or some of us ended up burning down, the Tory party headquarters in Millbank in London, which in hindsight was the least we could have done for what they were about to fucking do. In hindsight, we should have burned more. There you go.
I think the most interesting thing about this election, though, is to see how many of my Twitter friends have made the news in one way or another. The most noticeable people being Groovy Guy Zone, getting the Joe Swinson kills squirrels.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah.
Well done. Wait, she doesn't kill squirrels?
The way that sort of filtered into the mainstream, and then Loki Rinto, he's caught 2 Lib Dems having like majorly racist tweets back from like 2014-13, and they've both lost their ability to be voted under Lib Dems, as in they've lost the whip.
Wow.
So yeah, left shit posters of the UK and Ireland have actually started to get some real power. Nice. Just for making stupid dick jokes on Twitter.
I've always said dick jokes is how we would change the world. But yeah, I mean, it's very hard to tell. Obviously, you don't want to be one of those conspiracy theorists and say that none of the polls are just universally wrong. I do think it's one of those things like, have you ever been polled? Like, I've never been polled. I don't know who's ever been polled. I don't know who.
I got polled once, but I don't like to talk about it.
Yeah. Did you end up in Warsaw because you were polled? Ha. But that's not good. But
name any country in the world. Warsaw.
That is actually, anyway, I won't go into that. That's a wrestling move, but anyway. But so I mean, I don't know who these people are getting polled, but we have to assume some of the people who are polling.
I mean, yeah, basically, I don't trust pollsters especially street ones as well. Because if you're walking down the street and you can't turn left slightly or go, actually I'm too busy, then your opinion is probably not worth.
I wonder if they just poll people in Weatherspoons, and that's just the main.
That would seem to be, exactly.
It's because they're stuck in a singular place, and they're they're the type of people who have a copy of the Daily Mail and want to tell you their opinion, even if you don't want to find out their opinion. Let me tell you something about Jeremy Corbyn. Kind of go, what? It's like, he likes to kill squirrels. Oh wait, that's Joe Swinson.
I mean, every time you see the BBC, anytime they go outside of London, it's always like a Weatherspoons and like Essex. So they haven't even gone that far. It's like, we've come to hear the words of the people in a Weatherspoons.
They should probably go to like a public library. You'd probably find a lot more people. Yeah, because I mean, whenever I've been in public libraries in Ireland, there's tons of people like hanging around who don't have jobs or are trying to learn something. You might ask their opinion, but no, they're there's weirdos in the library trying to learn things.
That's almost as bad as the Weatherspoons.
How's it as bad?
Like the public library is like the Weatherspoons of the educated.
The unemployed educated. Yeah.
I just think it was weird how you made the distinction between people that are not working and those that would be learning, as if might not be both the same person.
Yeah, both. But anyway, we haven't asked Oisín his opinion.
Yes, we did.
Did we?
We did.
Yeah, that's how we.
His just wasn't very noteworthy. Make a better opinion.
So I actually think I would be leaning more towards James's opinion that there's a lot more young people who have registered to vote this time round and could actually swing it for the Labour Party. But the problem then I see is sort of trying to get your manifesto through. If you have SNP and possibly a few independents in your party, I can't really see them actually getting everything that they set out in their manifesto through. So
yeah. So in other words, two of us think
cautiously
optimistic. One of us a cynical prick. That's me. And we'll have to wait. Well, by the time this podcast comes out, no doubt you'll know, and either you can be very, very tweetery to James and say well done, or you can say to me, which I don't think I have a Twitter. Oh wait, no, I do. Oh crap, I have all that stuff on it. I gotta go, guys.
All that racist shit posting.
I gotta go. I'm running for election next year. In our continuing Irish history series, we present to you Ireland and the Emergency. The year 1941. The location, an extremely rural pub in Kerry. Sure, it's a grand day and that's no mistake. Any news, Mickle?
None at all. It's fierce quiet.
Aye, it's a queer, dull decade.
Nothing of note at all.
Couldn't move for the things not happening.
Have you met my new friend there, Hans?
Karen, stranger.
Hello, mein fellow Irischer.
That's an interesting accent you've got there, Hans. What part of the blessed Emerald Isle do you hail from?
I am from the county of Donegal, a very remote and mountainous land according to easily available tourist leaflets. You know these northerners with their strange accents. Here, Shano.
Yes, Mickle.
Hans is passing through on a hike and was looking for a friend of his by the name of Ira Man. Have you heard of any such man in town?
How do you spell it, Mickle?
IRAMANN, I believe?
Can't say that I have, but you know yourself, there seems to be loads of northerners hiking around looking for their lost friends around here. Sure, it's great to know the tourism business is booming.
Oh, there he goes now with Eamon de Valera. Sure, that Hans knows all the big wigs.
Sure, anyway, let's go for a walk down by the old Magdalen Laundry. I have a bag of dirty clothes, and sure, don't they get the crease out? Okay, we're going to be talking now about the not-so-recent, quite long time ago, release of Joker, which has been or Joker's often been referred to as an anarchist, an agent of chaos, and other things as well. And so we're going to talk about the movie and what we thought about it. So I'm going to start with the man who's furthest away from me in everything in life, which is Ashin.
Hello. So I watched the movie with my girlfriend, and then I watched it by myself.
All right, weird flex.
I didn't know you had a girlfriend.
Well, way to drop that into it.
Well, there you go. So I watched it with her, and then I watched it by myself.
You watched it twice.
I watched it by myself with my massive cock. That's another thing.
Throbbing of us.
There you go.
Don't hit the table. Don't hit the table.
I'll try not to. Yeah. So I thought it was really, really dark and depressing and grim.
And then you ejaculated.
Exactly. That's one of the things.
Don't talk about your girlfriend that way.
Yeah. So I thought it was really, really, good critique of like sort of capitalist culture. Bruce Wayne's father being really, really rich and everything, and then showing the forgotten and the precariat and everything. I didn't really like the ending so much, but it was all. I think up until the ending, I was on board with it.
At any point were you afraid that Zach Galifianakis in his tighty whities would come out because it was Todd Phillips that directed it? Because I was thinking he's going to go back to that well again. So
I can't say I did now, to be honest. I know Todd Phillips' work, but it was just I think Joaquin Phoenix really saw the show.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
And next to speak is James,
the film expert. So thank you for bringing me in second.
Well, you got to do second.
It's not only like
listen. I haven't mentioned that I have a girlfriend first. Okay, so this
and his throbbing massive penis has to be mentioned as well. That's way more important than a film critic job. You know?
So basically, the way that I've been talking about it is saying it's the most amount of fuss for a 3-star film I've seen in a very long time. I think it was incredibly juvenile.
It should be said that he gave Knives Out 4 stars. So,
well, yeah, because that's a 4-star film. That's like some nice little bit of fluff that was entertaining.
No, it's true. It's a good point.
Like, most people gave Joker 4 stars as well. I would say it's Joaquin Phoenix's performance that really has confused people into thinking it's a good film. Where his performance is so good in it, where he actually raises it up. But if you were to look at the directing and the script within and itself, it's not a particularly deep film.
No, it's not. But do you not think that there are other things, like, for example, I thought the soundtrack was very, very good. I thought the props and actual visuals, they did a very good job. And
I know, but it's a Hollywood film. You don't judge them by their props because they've got all of the budget in the world to do that.
No, but they don't. Their budget was quite, well, for Hollywood movies.
It's still like, a couple of million that would cost to make it. The only time that you notice a prop is when it's bad.
It's true. It's a good point. Anything else you want to say about it? More about, like, the fuss, maybe? I don't know.
Well, yeah. I think, anyone that was saying it was encouraging violence is obviously just, spoofing. But that is their one, people like from the Daily Express and Daily Mail. I think its major fault was it's the riots that are happening in the background, because they didn't make any sense, and they didn't really seem to follow any coherent idea of how and why people take to the street. Because in some way, and then within that there is the case of it's like an unreliable narrator, so you don't know how much of it is happening and isn't happening, and I think that takes away from quite a lot of the film. When it turns out, if you want to use an unreliable narrator, you have to use it correctly to make it, and then it becomes clear or it's unclear of what is and isn't happening. But it has that is sort of the point of the film, so you get into it. Wherein Joker, it's not clear what is and isn't happening, and it muddies the water in the end. Yeah. So is the right stuff happening?
If it is almost any of it happening?
Exactly. And so
is he lionized by the rioters?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if there's no definitive answer, but it doesn't do the maybe it was all a dream thing properly either. And so I came away from it being like, it doesn't matter, I don't care. So yeah, I think the riot stuff was the things that worked the least as well, because if we know as the audience that the 3 people that were shot were arseholes, and I'm neither here nor there about their deaths, but the people in the street
kind of in favour, I think.
The people that are rioting didn't know that they were arseholes, and if you look at the way that our populace is, and they were rich, but people don't celebrate the rich dying just in and on themselves. And so within it's like trying to do this, like, oh, look at how political people can be and how much they hate the rich. They've actually, whether Todd Phillips believes that or not, that's the way that he portrays it to be.
True. If this was an origin story of one of the Jokers that have already been established, which origin story would it be? And yes, it is Cesar Romero.
No, it's very much his own Joker, because he's not funny. He's not got the same mania that
it's true.
Jack Nicholson
has,
or
Mark Hamill. He's not dweeby enough to be the Batman versus Superman. What was that?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto one. Yeah, we didn't get a tattoo of him writing it. Insane.
Damaged, I think.
Damaged. That's it. Yeah.
Subtlety. Thy name is Zack Snyder.
No, it's very much his own Joker, which is fine. I think there's obviously some people that are getting annoyed that it's not the Joker that they expect to see.
Which is what? Cesar Romero.
Yeah, exactly.
Cesar Romero. Who, by the way, couldn't be bothered to shave his mustache off, so painted over it.
No. He couldn't. It wasn't that he couldn't be bothered. It was his trademark, and so if you got rid of his moustache, then it would stop him from getting.
Because so many people go, do you know what? I wouldn't have been able to get into it.
Cesar Romero. He doesn't look Mexican enough anyway, so.
Well, can you imagine if Groucho? What happens if Groucho had shaved his moustache? No one would know that
he didn't have a moustache quite often. He just grease paint, didn't he?
Yeah, thanks for explaining the joke there, Alex.
Sorry, I'm very stupid. But back to Cesar Romero. Career retrospective of Cesar Romero began as a downtrodden sign twirler. But I mean, I think my initial reaction came out of the cinema was it was good. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was great. I think when you compare them to other Jokers, the other Jokers had the benefit of not being the main character, which is actually a huge advantage, because you can just only have you don't have to be on the screen all the time. You can steal scenes, and and especially with the Heath Ledger thing, I think no one's going to top that because of the nature of how it happened with his death, and I don't think it's fair to compare. But that said, the whole when I was watching the movie, I was really into it until what a lot of people have complained about, which is the ending, when it was like, oh, so he was just imagining all of that. In which case, I was like, well, what's the point of doing that? It's it didn't need that bit at the end from a purely artistic perspective, I suppose. Exactly. I don't think it needed that. I think as you said, I think it muddied the waters. I think it was like,
Well, I mean, take for example, there's a really good David Cronenberg film called Spiders, and spoiler warning, but at the end it turns out he's an unreliable narrator, and you don't really know what you've seen or not. And the way that's weaved into the narrative, the next time you watch it, you're like, what is your problem? The next time you watch it, you're like, oh, that's really interesting, the way that they've gone about that, the way that they've integrated it into the story. And so it's sort of about suppressed memories, and it's always got like a Freudian part to it as well, where Todd Phillips has just gone, maybe it was all a dream. Ooh.
Maybe it was Zach Galifianakis' character from Hangover having a dream in his 20s. Pan to Zach Galifianakis on the road.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens with the sequel.
If there's a sequel, we'll see. I mean, if it's Joaquin Phoenix in it. I mean, given the fact that they've made over $1 billion, I think they probably will. But the point as to its merits, it had some interesting. Thank God you did that. Someone just moved a pen, which I'm very happy about. Yes, the merits of it in terms of what it was saying about society. I mean, I think for people who have a very, very basic understanding of why am I poor, or why am I pissed off, or why do I feel horrible, or why is society horrible around me? I mean, whether we like it or not, and floating off the coast of Little St. James in our boat of anarchism, hunting the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein, we are kind of in an ivory tower of, to some extent, in regards consciousness, and so if some person watches that and goes, do you know what, the rich are cunts, I wouldn't necessarily be too, I'd say that's good. I mean,
yeah, they're definitely going to do that by watching that film, though, because there's no structural analysis at all.
There's not, no,
or any analysis.
No, I'm not saying that. Yeah. No, I'm not saying you should become. But even Robespierre had way more he had political chops. But you know what I mean? Like there's purely.
I mean, I did not come on this podcast to give Robespierre a bad name. Thank you very much.
Enough people have done that already. But I wouldn't necessarily. It's not an analysis. I don't mean that. But if you come out of that and go, do you know what? Fucking the rich are. I mean, it's not the end of your journey, but if someone goes, that changed my view on mental health, or changed my view on how the wealthy are, gutting everything with austerity, I'm not going to...
That's what I'm talking about, and it's like where it's not subtle, where it's basically he goes to the hospital and then just say, oh, there's not enough money for the hospitals, looks at camera, winks,
but
points at picture of Trump, like, there's not enough money, oh!
Yeah, but that's an artistic quibble, rather than a political one. I mean, the point that I would try and say is that the fact that it's ham-fisted or it's not done very subtly is a valid point, and that's fine. Whether someone comes out of that and goes, it's a bit like... In fact, here's a really good comparison. It's very similar to V for Vendetta, the movie, which was not particularly subtle in how it conveyed,
George W. Bush is a cunt, points at photo.
yeah. But again, this was 15 years ago. Your quibble then was, again. But a lot of people went, yeah, that's the thing. So I mean, we are, and this is again an ivory tower statement. So prepare yourselves. But it's very much us looking and going, that's not nuanced enough. But for a lot of people, they don't even have these thoughts. Like these type of superhero movies for them is literally the only type of stuff they interact with. They don't read. They don't, and partial literacy is rife within all societies now. People don't really, the memes which we make, we don't make our living off it, but I wish we did, is a huge way of conveying information now. It's the dominant way of conveying political information, the OK Boomer stuff. So if someone goes to that movie and they came out of it not wanting to shoot Robert De Niro in the face, which is a whole other thing for another podcast, but rather wanted to go, do you know what, fuck the rich, and I want to learn more, then and I have no proof they'd do that, but I'd be
there's no
it's completely unsubstantiated.
There's no one that
I will provide a Venn diagram to show in the future that there must have been a connection between people going to
what you're basically saying is like someone watching the first Iron Man film coming out and going, oh yeah, maybe what we should do is have like restrictions on wealth.
John Favreau did many good things in that first
I mean, I think the Iron Man films are fine, but they're basically like Ayn Rand wet dreams.
True, yeah.
I mean, the second film is just Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, no, it's true. No, I
so, like, I think Joker's much of the same. It points vaguely in the direction of some social political points, but it never actually makes any.
True. No, I agree. It's maybe a benign hope that it might change. But the serious point that we have to talk about now is that we have in our hands, let's count them, Cesar Romero, 1, Jack Nicholson, 2, Mark Hamill, 3, Heath Ledger, 4, Jared Leto, 5, and now Joaquin Phoenix, 6. If you had to put a list of 1 to 6 of your Jokers that touched you, and not in a creepy way, not the way Oisin is touching his boat right now, what would that list be? Starting with James, because of course he's already speaking before I even finished.
For libel reasons, we have to say that none of the actors of the Joker have ever touched us.
Well, Mark Hamill a bit.
I would say Mark Hamill is my favourite Joker, because he, throughout the Batman animated series, he had the perfect amount of threat to comedy.
True.
And that was consistent throughout. So you'd have episodes where he was just really funny, you'd have episodes where he was absolutely terrifying. and that inconsistency with the character, or even sometimes in the same scene, is what you want from the Joker, really. And then I would put Jack Nicholson second because he's the funniest.
Interesting. Is it because never rub another man's rhubarb?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like Jack Nicholson running around chewing the scenery as much as he can. And he's got the subplot of murder as high art, which I think is a really interesting idea that's not been developed too sufficiently in any other film.
Seven, I suppose. Would be.
Yeah, kind of, but from a different angle. You know, he's coming at it from a sort of like Francis Bacon avenue of like you know, turning someone into real life, like a Francis Bacon painting, which I think is a really interesting idea, and it's much deeper than Tim Burton obviously ever planned it to be.
Again, not known for his
subtleties.
So if
I'm going to call this big skeleton character Jack Skellington.
It's a good one, boss. It's a good one. But and he didn't even direct that. But anyway, Oisin?
Well, I thought that the social commentary in the most recent Joker film wasn't any. I don't think it was good at all. I mean, we were talking about Taxi Driver recently. That was a much better social commentary than Joker, which was basically showing two completely unrelated things, like, you know, rich people, you know, being arseholes on the train, and then, you know, why the Joker is so angry at people, and sort of conflating the two and saying that, you know, he's this great crusader against wealth and everything, when actually he's not. He's just a very he's a bit deranged, and those were two people who threatened him on the train. So I mean that was
really, he should just run for president and solve the problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I think Taxi Driver and King of Comedy are both much deeper films and a lot more interesting. Because
again, not surprisingly,
Scorsese
versus Todd.
But that's, I mean, you're saying, you know, about props and things, but in terms of, say, even lighting, they're both much more interesting films. Like Taxi Driver actually uses lighting as a way to denote like where a character is, which is sort of a dying art in Hollywood today. You can also have a character say something and then their body language tell you something else. I know this might be a bit surprising to Hollywood directors, but it's possible.
No, it's true. It's possible to do these things, yeah. But your list was what? It was a list of the Jokers that you made. So what are they now?
Yeah, so I think Mark Hamill would be probably up there top, and then I probably would have Joaquin Phoenix at number 2 or 3. Just because, like, I don't think the humour was there completely from him, but like I don't remember laughing while watching the movie at all. I think I just was left with a vague sense of, you know, Jesus, what would Zach Galifianakis look like in his body?
Gotta come back to that. It worked for 3 movies. It's gotta work for 4.
There was a couple of good jokes in The Joker. I can't remember them. There was one that I caught, and I was the only person in the cinema laughing, and it was awkward because it was a background joke, and it was some sort of reference to Batman somewhere. And I did that. Oh yeah, it's very clever. And everyone's like, "Why is this guy laughing? He's a bit weird." But I would argue that the Joker in Joker is not even the Joker. He's Arthur Fleck.
Yeah,
he's the beginning of, but he's
not a Joker.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Robert De Niro called him.
Yeah, he's not. You see in the beginnings of the character, but I wouldn't even put him in the
canon.
The canon of he's, you know, a Batman villain Joker because he's not doing what the Joker does yet.
He's not the clown prince of crime.
Yeah, exactly. Which is fine, and I think it's, you know, like I haven't got any problems with the way that the film sets out the character and the hinterland of what's going to happen later. But yeah, I just didn't even consider him as a Joker.
So is it a problem trying to rank the Jokers in terms of, you know, what stage they're at in their sort of either comedic or criminal comedic careers?
I'm just being like, what do you like? Don't go too much into it. I'm just going to say Cesar Romero, because clearly the Batman from 1966 onwards is the best Batman, because it takes the subject of a billionaire dressing in latex, or in this case spandex in the 1960s, as seriously as is wanted. And the Joker, in this case, a man who was just doing it for the money and didn't really understand or need to understand the complexities of a Joker. Attempts at humour aside,
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Ooh. There, yeah.
But
Anyway.
the 1960s Batman is a satire. That was
Yeah.
always its
Yeah.
intention. It's meant to be as funny
Absolutely,
as it is. So you are right. Like, even though you were being slightly facetious, that was actually would be my genuine.
It's the best Batman. Batman as a collection of characters and stories. It takes it as seriously as is necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
The Christian Bale Batman is ridiculous. The idea of a billionaire, and it's like, I mean, we were talking about it before, but the idea that Bane is the bad guy. I mean, it was years ago, but James and I were watching the film, and we both turned to each other, is Bane the bad guy? Is he meant to be bad?
But that's kind of the weird thing about the Nolan trilogy, is each villain in it is almost not a villain, even though they do
That's true.
villainous things at the end.
Yeah.
Like, Batman's really the villain in them, because, you know, the Joker in Dark Knight basically just killed some lawyers, some gangsters,
Yeah, it's true.
and people like that. He never actually kills any innocent people, so you're like, well, he can just kill as many cops
Yeah.
as he wants. I don't give a shit.
true.
Which it's always hard to get a pin on with Nolan. Is, does he know that's happening, or does he not?
I'd say he probably knows it's happening, but it's hard to tell because his coat is so brown and long, and he so often swishes it about.
The problem is that David S. Goyer as well had a big hand in those scripts, and you notice it, and he's not a particularly deep person.
It's true.
The
He
very
wrote-
person that
yeah.
also said, once you start making Batman versus Superman, that means you run out of ideas.
Didn't he write the script for that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The end. When life in a chaotic and pointless world gets you down, right into our resident Anomie Aunt, Fiacra, O'Connor, O'Brien, oh my. Dear Anomie Aunt, I find myself sexually attracted to Nigel Farage, and as an Australian man, that's very odd. He may hate immigrants and the NHS, but a self-loathing working class racist like me, I really want to mount him like an asthmatic donkey. Thoughts? Signed, Joe Pleb. Hashtag get Brexit done.
Oi, Joe Pleb. Have you been looking through my browser history by any chance? Because licking the taint of suited fascists is my G-spot, Holmes. If a man likes to ejaculate into a room temperature mug of Muggins Lager while a crowd of skinhead watches, it's nobody's business but its own. Let's meet up soon. I've got some killer upskirts of Tommy Robinson.
Comrade Anomie Aunt, if Jeremy Corbyn becomes Prime Minister, I'm worried I would be too happy. My whole identity is centered on being a lefty, perpetually moaning at the pub. I don't actually want to have my policies enacted. How can I stop Corbyn revealing my hipster scumbaggery? Signed, chai latte with skinny milk.
Dear Chai Latte with Skinny Milk, I am already setting up a Michael Collins style ambush at his allotment to prevent this eventuality. Liam Neeson will be there too if I can convince him to stop looking for a black person to murder.
A Cara Anomie Aunt. I am a Dublin landlord, profiting off the misery of my tenants. I find my rent money is often damp from their tears or from the pervading moisture of my substandard flats. Should I evict my teary-eyed tenants and replace them with emotionless sociopaths, or buy some talcum powder to sprinkle on my dough? Choices. Regards, Jordan Peterson, fan, 69.
Dear Jordan Peterson fan 69, that is quite the dilemma. It reminds me of that time Owen Harris and I were beating a pleb to within an inch of his life for trying to touch Owen's beard. After we had broken his legs and deprived him of the ability to work, we realised we could actually tax his disability payments and make a boatload. In other words, have you considered murdering your tenants and living off the housing benefit? FYI, for next week's mailbag, please address me as a sex-positive woke enigma.